When I started out making cold calls in 2018, I was nervous, I was not confident, and there was a little voice going on inside my head every single time I clicked dial, and that voice was saying, don't pick up, don't pick up, don't pick up. And it wasn't until I learned these 6 simple rules that voice flipped from saying, don't pick up, to saying, please pick up, please pick up, please pick up. So in this video, I want to cover what these 6 rules were that transformed my cold calling ability, because it's not until you make that mental shift of being nervous about what happens when a prospect answers the phone to being excited about the possibilities that you know you've developed into a confident sales prospector. So let's get into it. The first key rule I learned is that we are selling time on cold calls. We are not selling our solution or our value proposition. Our objective is to book a meeting. Therefore, we are selling 15, 20, 30 minutes of time on their calendar at a later date to discuss this further. This drastically reduces the scope of what we're responsible for on a cold call and should make you feel lighter. Your job is just to pique their interest enough where they agree that it's worth a discussion at a later date. You don't need to fully sell your solution off the cuff on a cold call. This realization was crucial for me because I was often calling into people who had 10, 20 years of experience in their role, and I was less than a year into mine. I had a little bit of imposter syndrome because I wasn't confident in my ability to carry on a conversation about our solution or our value proposition off the cuff with these people on a cold call, but I soon realized that my only responsibility was to get them to a meeting at a later date, so that is what I chose to focus my efforts on the cold call. I don't like cold calls to drag on 5-10 minutes. I'm more pushing to get them off the phone because I know our best shot on net is on that call at a later date when I have time to prepare, they're ready to listen to my message. Because you have to remember, we just cold called these people out of the blue in the middle of their workday. They're not in a state where they want to have a conversation or answer a bunch of questions about this. I want them to be in a state where they're prepared at a later date before I deliver my full value proposition. The second rule I learned is that I needed to get a yes or a no answer on the cold call. This sounds obvious, but a lot of reps use cold call scripts where they don't make it clear out of the gate that what they want is time on their calendar, and instead they lead off introducing themselves and then asking some questions about, what are you currently using? How's that going for you? Do you have any initiatives in the future? And then they get hung up on before they even got a chance to say, hey, are you free next Tuesday to discuss this at a later date? What I learned is that no matter how good a call felt, your odds of booking the meeting were 0%, and it was a total time wasted if you did not ask for time on their calendar. So you need to make it clear out of the gate who you are, why you're calling, what you want. You need to take control and do most of the talking, give off just enough value, and then state that you want time on their calendar at a later date. Being concise and doing this on every call is going to give you more shots on net and more non-zero probabilities of booking the meeting. Then what it becomes about is increasing that non-zero probability. So whether it's 5%, increasing that to 10% success rate, 15% success rate. What we want to avoid are 0% chances, which is when you get hung up on or end the call before you even asked for time on their calendar. The third rule I learned is that you need to scale and put processes in place to help yourself get as many of these shots on net as possible. So you need to wake up knowing what to do rather than coming to your desk, sitting down and thinking, what do I need to do today? What people do I need to call? The reason this is important is because it saves a lot of mental energy and makes it easier for you to get your day started. An analogy would be how Steve Jobs used to wear the same black turtleneck and jeans every day. That's a bit extreme, but he did it because he didn't want to waste mental energy on that stuff and he wanted to get his day started right away. So you need to be doing the same thing as a sales representative. And there's 2 key ways to do this. The first is to have all your contact lists built out as far as the eyes can see. So you shouldn't wake up having to think, who do I need to call today? What list do I need to build? You should spend a day or 2 up front making enough lists to last you for the next month, 2 months, even 3 months if you do it properly. So that way when you sit down, you don't have to waste any mental energy. You can just pull up some lists that you haven't contacted and go down that list and start prospecting. Or you can pull up a list that you maybe haven't contacted in a month or 2 and re-engage them and take them through another cadence. The next key process to have in place is to have scheduled times for emailing and for call blocks. As an example, when I was an SDR, I sat down and 8 to 9 every morning was blocked off strictly for email. 10:30 to 12 was blocked off for calling my West Coast accounts, and then 3:30 to 5 was blocked off for calling my East Coast accounts. Now, I varied from this day to day, but that was a consistent structure that I followed pretty closely. I'd say 80 or 90% of days went that way, and then in between those hours are when I took care of everything else. But that helped me get my day started. I had my list ready, I knew what I was doing, when, and it helped me move faster and scale. The fourth rule I learned is that you need to measure results so that you can figure out where you need to improve, and this is what turns cold calling into a scientific process. So if you deliver that who you are, why you're calling, and what you want, there's only three outcomes. They can either say yes, they can give you a hard no, which includes being hung up on, or they can give you an objection. I literally keep an Excel file where I measure in batches of 100 after I make my value statement on a cold call. Did I get a yes? Did I get a hard no? Or did I get an objection? If so, which objection did I get? This data will give you insight on what you need to work on. So if you're not getting enough yeses right out of the gate, you probably need to work on that value statement. If you're getting a lot of objections, which objections are you struggling with? Are there some you're doing better at, and are there other common objections that you get that you seem to struggle with? If so, you probably need to focus on handling that objection. And the goal is just to figure out where you need to work on so we can slowly chip away and increase that probability of booking the meeting when we get that yes or no answer. The difference between going from a 5% success rate to a 10% success rate is massive. You've just doubled your results. Even though it might not feel like it on a call-by-call basis, after 100 lives, that's the difference between booking 5 meetings or 10 meetings, which can mean night and day for your results. The fifth rule I learned is that you should take nothing personally when it comes to cold calling, and you need to be able to laugh at your results, whether you got a yes or a no. That measuring process I just measured helps with that because it turns each cold call from being something personal to just being a data point in a batch of 100 live cold calls that you get. I like to think of it as a cold call batting average, and I keep track. How many yeses did I end up getting in that batch of 100? My batting average was 150 or 200. How can I get that up to 200 or 300? This is how you slowly make incremental improvements. The other thing to remember is that when someone really goes at you and blows up on you or hangs up on you on a cold call, I promise you it says more about them than it does about you. It says more about them and their life situation if a simple cold call that took 10 seconds out of their day before hanging up caused them that much agony. That says more about them than you. And I'll link to a video where I go more in depth on this topic and how to overcome cold call anxiety, because it's crucial that you don't take rejection personally on cold calls. The sixth and final rule I learned about cold calling is that we are valuable to these prospects. We are not bothering them. We are not pestering them. We can actually be a huge asset to these people, their companies, and their careers if we work with them the right way. So you shouldn't feel bad about cold calling or interrupting someone's day. It's oftentimes you work at a company that specializes in an area that this prospect is in, and we know about problems that they don't even realize they have. So we're the ones who need to shake them awake and snap them out of their day-to-day and let them know that they have this problem and that there's a lot of value to be unlocked if they fix it. So don't put these prospects on a pedestal. Oftentimes they know they have these problems. They're just procrastinating or waiting for a sales representative like us that's competent, that they feel confident can actually help them solve this problem. But it's important to work for a company you believe in for this purpose, because when you truly believe in your company and the solution that you're selling, cold calling is really just a transfer of belief from yourself over to the prospect that you can help them in some way. So I hope this helped. If it did, hit the like button. I could do an individual video on all these topics, but this is broadly the 6 rules that helped me transform my confidence in cold calling from being nervous to being excited about what could happen. So hope you enjoyed. If you did, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.